Hi, everybody. I am back to do a little vlogging on borderline personality disorder. I recently had somewhat of a trigger today, and I feel pretty crappy about it, and I feel pretty hopeless about it. And I figured that I would share it. I've been watching my videos just to see. Um, I don't know, just to kind of reflect on them because I do different videos. I've been doing this for a few weeks now, and just to see the different emotions that I go through up and down and things. And I did a couple things on the videos. The first thing that I noticed is when I'm the DBT group, I am much more rational. I missed DBT group last week because I wasn't feeling well, and this week because of Thanksgiving. So I'm sure I'm going to struggle. I've also decided that I'm going, no matter how much I have to pay, I'm going to make an appointment with the DBT therapist outside of my network. But and I'm going to do that Monday because I think that I dearly need that. Um, so, what I wanted to talk about today is I went on a date um, with a guy. My eyes hurt for some reason too. I don't know why my eyes are straining. I went on a date with a guy, um, and I know I'm in my pajamas too, so I kind of don't care with these videos. Um, it was okay. He was not a bad guy by any means. I don't know. But when I go out with somebody and I they're not a bad guy, but I don't feel an immediate connection, there's a bunch of fears that go through my head, and I end up leaving the date crying. Um, and you wouldn't think, and I think that's why, like, dating makes me sad, and it shouldn't make me sad. Like, it's not the function of dating. Um, and I know I've let a lot of good guys go, and that's why it matters to me, is because I have let good guys go. So I wasn't sure what really I was afraid of. Like, I knew I was afraid, but I absolutely didn't know what I was afraid of. And I still don't completely know what I'm afraid of, but I did make a list of what I could verbalize as far as my fears and everything. Um, the first thing is, if you go on a date and it's really quiet, and it's really just normal, like, these are just normal, we're being quiet, like, it makes me incredibly uncomfortable. The quiet to me is very boring, and it's very hopeless, and I'm really afraid of boredom. And I don't know why the quiet and boredom equals hopelessness for me. I grew up in a household where it was always chaotic. I kind of remind myself of Shameless because I was the oldest of six, and I kind of look like the girl on the show, if you ever saw that show. And their life kind of mirrors mine growing up. But I was raised around loudness and chaoticness, and when it's like a quiet, like, I don't know, I feel like it's like, oh, I can't relate to those people. Those are the people that kind of just sat around their kitchen table and didn't say anything, and it just kind of blows my mind. Um, I'm afraid that they have no substance, and that's a really deep fear of mine. Because I have so much substance, um, I'm afraid that they have none. And I don't, I guess I'm afraid that they have, I don't know. Um, I'm afraid they won't know how to help me. Not fix me, but they won't know how to help me. They won't know that they're not strong enough to handle me. And I guess I always saw like a guy that kind of sits there and I don't know, it doesn't say a lot. Not the quiet confidence, because quiet confidence is like kind of sexy. But like the Boy Scout type of guy, I always saw them as being unable to help me, and being weak. And it's okay that they're weak. Like, I'm not judging anybody because I know how it is. But I can't, I feel so weak that I can't date somebody that's weak. That scares me. Anytime I see a weakness in a man that I perceive as a weakness, which is normal, it scares me because I feel like they can't protect me. And that's my problem, because I think that, like, if you meet a guy and he's like, runs his mouth right away, and he's really aggressive and how he's going to defend you, that's not a good thing. But that's what I look for to help me. Because I don't feel like I can handle, like, my friends. There's a few of my friends and family members that date like weak men. I don't think that I could. and it's hard. And I'm labeling them as weak. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, there is kind of a fear that I'll end up taking on the more masculine role, and I can't do that. So that scares me. Um, Also, they won't understand my emotions. Like, I never told anybody that I was dating really that I had borderline personality disorder. I would just skim over it. Now I haven't had a boyfriend in like 7 years, but it would just be skimmed over. And the one time I kind of dated, meaning slept with, um, a guy that I had went to high school with. I knew him and stuff, but we spent a couple nights together, and he was recovering from drugs, and he was a jerk in a lot of ways, but we did, which was refreshing, have conversations about God, and we had conversations about illness. Even though he is recovering from a different illness than me, he's recovering from the illness of drug addiction. He kind of he said to me that I haven't surrendered to the fact that I have borderline personality disorder. And I don't think that I really have surrendered to it. And surrender doesn't mean give up, but to me, surrender, I've never told a guy I had borderline personality disorder. I've always said, okay, I'm going to ignore my borderline personality disorder and I am going to make it go away. I'm going to, act normal for as long as possible. And certainly, you're going to act fairly more normal than, usual when you meet somebody, and that's normal. But surrender to it is just basically accept, that when you're dating somebody that you're going to have to tell them, like, listen, I have borderline personality disorder. It is what it is. Like, it is what it is. It's the number one cause of stress, and it's the number one thing that I have to focus on. And I have it. Like, instead of trying to shame myself out of it. So I'm afraid that nobody will be able to handle that. Um, I'm terrified that nobody will be able to handle that. Um, and I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to relate to them as a human being. Um, Terrified. And of those, I think the biggest fear is they won't be able to protect me, and that I'll have to be the strong one to protect, that I'm going to have to be in a position to protect them. And that scares me. So when I went on this date with this guy that, again, was like a quieter guy, I don't know if there's anything romantic really. I didn't see it. That I left the date almost in tears because I felt like not only am I going to have to take care of myself if I wanted to date him, which is impossible, I'm going to have to be responsible for taking care of him. And I think that that's what scares me about dating. I hope that makes sense because I really am feeling a lot more strong, like a lot stronger than I'm vocalizing, and my fears are a lot deeper and more extreme than what I'm vocalizing, but I can't even describe them. So I'm trying to. Hopefully I find more words. Um, I don't know. But I guess, that is what it is. And the two things that I would take away from it, number one, I'm definitely going to get schedule an appointment with a DBT counselor, even though it's going to be cost me more money. It is what it is. And that I kind of have to surrender to it. And it's almost denying myself too, because when you go, into a relationship and you don't tell the person you have borderline or you apologize for it, you're almost defeating yourself. It's like an alcoholic, that was recovering that wouldn't tell you, like, I'm defeating myself. Like, I have borderline personality disorder. My deepest self has to honor that because I know that it's not my fault I have it. I know it's caused by trauma. And I kind of, I guess, have to honor my highest self by being honest and about how it can affect relationships with potential partners. Obviously, not at first. Um, Instead of apologizing for it, because it's not going to change it, and that's the position I'm in. So um, I'm going to do a little more thinking about this. I'm more upset than I appear, but have a good night, and I'll be back maybe tomorrow, maybe not, but soon.